Hi, my name is Kelly and I'm with Bray, and we're here today to talk about something that we've heard from a lot of people is a skill that maybe they're not so confident in or they want a little more information on, and that is picking hooves. So I have Hamilton here with me, and I've got some hoof picks and some other items that we're going to talk about, and we're going to go through just a very basic trainer on how to pick your donkey's hooves. So we have a few options here for hoof picks. These are just some I grabbed out of my tack room. There's a lot of options for you. These are some basics. This one is very basic. You'll see it a lot, as well as this one. This is coming onto the market more often now, and I really like that. There's a fourth one that you will see that is really, really common in horse, any sort of horse usage, and it looks more like a flathead screwdriver. Those are great for horses. I don't particularly like them for donkeys because they tend to be a little too wide for their frogs. So they work great on those larger hooves, but for me, they don't really work, especially because mine are minis and have very small feet. Those don't really work for me. So I don't have any of those here to show you, but we'll talk a little bit about these individually and why I like them or don't like them and how I use them. So we're going to start with this guy here in the middle. Again, this is just solid metal, nothing fancy. This is my least favorite of the hoof picks I have because you'll note it's pretty wide and pretty blunt. With my animals, I struggle to get this down deep in their frog, and sometimes I do end up picking small pebbles out of their white line. So this is not a very good product for me for the footing we have and for my animals. If you've got larger animals and they're living in a lot of shavings and soft ground like that, this will get that out just fine. So this can be an option for you. But again, for me and my footing, this is not the option. It doesn't work great for really hard things. It doesn't work great for really tight spaces. If I need to get in that white line, it's just not gonna. And if I need to get into deep in those frogs, it's just not going to. So I have this. It's not my favorite. I really don't use it for anything except pulling the twine off the hay bale. So the next one we have, this is my absolute favorite, again, because I have minis and their feet are very, very small. And those grooves next to the frog are super tight and they can get fairly deep. And then again, we have a lot of little tiny pebbles that can creep up in the white line. So this works really well. It's a nice strong metal. It's got a good grip on it, feels good in your hand. It's light, it's easy. It's one of my favorites. It's very close to what my farrier uses to pick out their feet, which is a slightly bent horseshoe nail, but I don't want to carry that around and I'll lose it. So this is a better option for me. This is professional's choice. You can get them at your feed store, but this is my absolute favorite hoof pick for just general hoof picking. This is another one that I use fairly often, or this style, I should say. This one in particular with this weird wedge on the top. I don't love this wedge. I thought I might to press my no thrush down into those collateral grooves. It ends up not working for that for me, just due to the shape. So I don't love this part of it, but this brush and flat pick is a really standard, really common shape and very useful if you are applying any sort of thrush product or just hoping to clean out their feet to get a good look at them. If you are trimming their feet, this is really useful because a lot of times for me, when you start working on their feet, then they set their feet down and some moist soil and things will get on there. You don't necessarily want to pick them out again. You want to brush them. So this is, again, super common. It has its uses. This is my second favorite one. My first favorite if I'm trimming feet or adding a thrush, my no thrush powder. This is also good. These actually do get into that collateral groove on the frog really well to help push that no thrush powder down. So this works for that a little better than this does. So if I'm applying the no thrush, I choose this. If I'm trimming feet, I choose this. If it's just a regular hoof picking day, this is my choice. This is my choice if I'm picking a horse's feet and the horse lives in a stall with shavings and I don't want to lose my good hoof picks. This is sort of the final product and what I use when I do a hoof picking with my animals. This is no thrush. It's a dry powder. It looks like that. And it will, when it gets a little damp, and you can see it a little bit right there, you will get some red streaking because of the ingredients. Don't panic. That's not blood. That's just a little bit of the product. But this is a good product for me. I really like it. Its main ingredient is copper sulfate. So this was recommended by my farrier, and it's really clean, really tidy. I don't know if any of you have ever used the Copper Tox or the blue thrush liquid. It's not great if you get it on their skin. It's not great if you get it on your skin. The smell is really vile and difficult for days on end. This is a lot tidier, and what this is going to do is actually not damage any living tissue. It's just going to use that copper sulfate to kill the thrush bacteria and fungus and all of that. So, and it helps dry out their feet a little bit because that thrush enjoys moisture. So this is a product that I really like. It comes in 2 sizes. They also have this brand, which is Four Oaks. Yeah, Four Oaks. They have a goat powder, which is the exact same thing. So if you see that, you can use it too. But this is a great product at your feed store or online. Now that we've chosen our favorite hoof pick, and for this situation, I'm going to use this one, we are going to go over how to actually pick their hooves. And this is with a trained animal, one who knows how to pick up his feet. If you are unsure of how to pick hooves, if you have an untrained animal, that's going to be a bad combination. You should go ahead and employ a trainer to help you work through that and help your animal learn to pick up their feet before you try it. But we're assuming if you're a new owner, you have an animal that is used to having their feet picked up, so we're going to just go ahead and start from there. So one of the very important things is you never want to startle your animal, sneak up on your animal. Generally, when I'm approaching my animals, if they're not looking at me, I will talk to them, let them know I'm coming, kind of get their attention. And then you always want to walk up and lay your hand on him. Obviously, he knows I'm here because we've been talking. But first thing I always do is walk up to the shoulder or the neck and lay your hand on him and let him know you're here. Once you've walked up, you've let them know you're here, you've kind of rubbed on their shoulder, said hello, because again, we don't ever want to just barrel in and go straight to work without even a hi, how do you do? So, hello, how are you, Hamilton? Gonna give them a pet on the shoulder, and what you're gonna want to do is line yourself up so you're facing their tail. And again, never go straight for their hoof. You are going to feel like a fly or a pest. You're going to startle them. That's a good way for them to not really realize what's going on and maybe throw a kick at you. And that's not something you ever want to do. So we're going to start here. We're going to face their tail, and we're going to start from the top. We're going to put our hand up here on their shoulder, and then, and you're going to have to excuse me with him, he's quite short. And another thing we never do is never sit on the ground around an animal. You can squat, you can kneel, but in any of these cases, we can move away quickly. What you never want to do is crisscross applesauce sit on the ground. With your larger animals, you're typically not going to get this low. With your larger animals, what you're usually going to do, they're here. Most of this is going to take place leaned over like this. But with Hamilton, leaning over like this puts me in an uncomfortable position and lifts his leg too high, and he's going to get uncomfortable. And having your donkeys be uncomfortable is a really good way to sour your donkeys on lifting their feet up. So we always want to keep in mind what's comfortable for them and what's comfortable and safe for us. So we're going to start here. I'm going to kneel down because I have a short donkey. And we're just going to run our hand down his leg. And you can see because he's trained, he's already started to shift his weight off that leg. And so what you do, he'll just lift it for you, which is very kind of him. But if he's not paying attention, and I haven't been messing with his leg, he will tend to not lift it quite so easily. So if he's not so ready to lift his leg, what I'll generally do, take my hand down here and just press my shoulder into his shoulder just a little bit. And that will get that weight off that leg. And then you can see I have my hand here. And what I'll do is just kind of rub right here. And I push into that shoulder. And then I just lift that leg up. And we cradle his leg. We take the weight off so we're not pushing him over. And we hold that just firmly. But we're not grabbing onto it. We're not grabbing real tight here. Just hold it steady. And again, we're not way high up. We're not cranking it out to the side. You'll see that a lot when people are trying to make videos where you can see what they're doing. Hey, buddy. Where they'll pull it way to the side. That's really uncomfortable. Don't do that. Just make sure it's all in line. All his joints are in line. And we're not doing anything silly. And we're holding it and supporting it with our hand. Again, Hamilton picks up his feet pretty easily. But one of the things you'll often see people do, and I really don't care for this, is you'll see them grab this hair on the fetlock and pull up by the hair right here. And I don't like that because I don't enjoy having my hair pulled. Not on my head, not on my legs, nowhere. And so your animals are the same way. It hurts to have your hair pulled. So if you are going to routinely grab that hair and pull it, you're going to sour them to picking up their feet because it's going to hurt them every time. So that's why, again, I like to just push a little weight there. He'll take the weight off that foot and we just lift it up. And you saw before, he can move a little bit and I just go with him. And as long as he's steady on his feet, he might do it again. Yep, there he goes. He's steady on his feet. He does this a lot. So this is not a problem. We're not going to get in a fight over it. If he starts getting very upset about it, we just put his foot down again. It's very easy. And again, we don't drop it. We set that foot down. Let him have it back. Here we go. We've got his hoof held in this hand. So that's going to be the arm that's nearest to him. Then we're going to have our hoof pick, and it's going to be facing away from us near our pinky. So we're not going to hold it like this. We're not hacking at things this way, and that way we can flick. We're going to cradle this, and then how I like to start is just here right on these collateral grooves at the top, and you just slide that right in. Hamilton's going to go wander with us, and then we slide that right in. And if he had any additional dirt here on the sole, we just brush that right off, and we just make sure those are good and clean. He, at this point, doesn't have any sort of thrush or issues that I can see or smell. You will generally smell thrush, and you will see it in kind of black, sludgy looking kind of dirt, and then you will also see some white. So anyway, again, if there's any sort of rocks in these collateral grooves, I take them out with my little hoof pick, and that's it. Feet are picked. It's really, donkeys have a really shallow sole, so it's generally not that big a deal. Now, because I am applying my no thrush, which again, I typically do at least once a week, even when it's dry. If it's been wet, I do it more often, but I've switched to this brush so that we can brush this off. Again, we just make sure everything in here is clean. Brush this off. Looks like everything's pretty tidy. We get this no thrush powder. I shake it up because if it's compacted, it doesn't come out very well. And we lay that down in those grooves. And we lay that down bottom of the apex there of the frog. And I just use this, poke that on in. And you don't need to do this very hard because that's soft tissue in there. You can see that this has some give to it. So you don't want to put a lot of pressure. Just lay it down in there pretty soft. And then I always try to make sure I've got some on the back. His white lines are pretty tight right now, but if they weren't, I would be sure to lay in some extra there. And then I take my brush and I just kind of scrub it in. And again, we want to politely, we're not just going to drop his foot. He's been really nice holding this here for me, so I'm not just going to drop it and let him go. I'm going to politely set his hoof back down. And then what we're going to do, what I like to do with mine, is I typically move around them front, rear, rear, front. Again, we never want to shock them. So I put a hand on him. I walk back here to the rear, and I do the exact same thing I did to the front. I run my hand down, and I ask him to please pick his foot up. I take my hoof pick, and I pick it out. And you can see here how much give that frog has. So we want to be nice to that frog and not jab at it too much. But we do this. We throw in some no thrush. This bottle's almost empty, is why it's struggling to come out. I've got a new bottle in my tack room that I can't wait to get in. Lay that in there. Scrub it in. Go ahead and give him his foot back. And that's it. That's all there is to it. It's pretty easy. Again, if you've got animals that are trained, this is something you should be doing several times a week. If your animals aren't trained, you need to call a trainer and have him help you out with that. But it's pretty simple. It's pretty essential. And the things to remember are be kind. Don't startle them. And also, please remember, it's difficult to stand on one foot with somebody pushing you around. So if they need to put their foot down and readjust their weight, or if it's taking you a long time, go ahead and give them their foot back. Let them readjust their weight. There's no need to make a fight out of this. Getting in fights with them will only make it so that you struggle with this more in the future. It's an unpleasant experience for them. It's an unpleasant experience for you, and nobody's benefiting from that. So be kind, be polite, and it's a pretty easy task, and you should be able to get this done a couple times a week and your donkey's hooves will thank you for it.
Kelly earlier showed you how to pick up feet with Hamilton, but being a mini, we thought it would be really nice to kind of see standard donkeys. So I'm here with Freya. She's considered a smaller standard donkey, and I'm going to show you how to pick up her foot. She is at liberty, so there is a likelihood she might step away from me for a minute. I don't have any of my treats for positive reward, but that's okay. She does know I'm here, but as she walks away from me, I'm going to let her know, like, hey, friend, we're still here. We have a thing to do. So I'm going to kind of let her know I'm here, kind of get her attention for a minute. And again, I'm not going to pick up the foot from this side. I am going to turn around and face behind her before I pick up her foot, but I'm here. She says no thank you. All right, so I've got Freya. She's like, oh, okay, I know the drill now. I'm rubbing her shoulder. I'm going to come down. I want to let her know that I'm here. I don't have to squat down for her. I can just bend down. It's a little bit more of a bend, but I'm going to bring my hand all the way down. I'm going to ask her. I'm going to lean in a little bit. She's pretty good. But if I'm leaning into her, I don't want to push her all the way over. I don't want so much force that she thinks she needs to step over. I want just enough to get the weight off of that leg. So again, I'm going to ask her to pick up. I just have to bend my knees. And now she actually has a couple of rocks. I can sit here and pick her feet, brush them, gently put them back down, and she's on her way.
One of the things that you may find also when you're picking your donkey's hooves, again, you slide your foot down here and you reach down and you might start to feel something a little funny. And what that is, when you look down here, that is an ergot. And it is basically the same tissue as these chestnuts here. Donkeys and horses grow them. Some have more visible ergots than others. They will flake off as they grow, just like that. And you'll see other just kind of black, crusty tissue underneath. They generally have them on all four legs, but again, some are more pronounced than others. But when you're down here doing this and you feel something crusty right here, that's an ergot. It's expected. Don't worry about it.